Can you see me? The chat's open. Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? Back again. I'm back.
How are ya?
How are you doing out there? It's like, I guess
Good
we're
evening.
going like, hey, there's already 10 people watching. That's crazy. Hey, how you doing? So yeah, welcome to what is it, episode 18 of What I Listening to. It's a beautiful day here. It's my birthday. Cheers. Celebrating my own birthday by talking to these lovely lads. Cheers for coming on.
Happy birthday.
Thanks
Happy birthday,
a lot.
Mike.
Happy birthday.
Cheers. We're going to have a good time tonight. I'm looking forward to everyone's picks as usual, but in a way, like especially today, because I kind of followed you guys for about 20 years on the internet and your different tastes, and I kind of know like some of your tastes and stuff. So I'm kind of interested to see what you're going to pull out today. So Scoots, good to see you. How you doing?
You too, Mike. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on. Devon, good to see you.
Hey, man. I see, I know that dude, Kevin Hunt.
Oh, God, he's not there, is he?
Keeping an eye on you.
Hey, there he is. How you doing? Cheers, Kevin. And Dave's here. Nice to see you again. It's been a while, right? Been a while.
Hey, Mike. Glad to be back.
You remember Dave from our Gatefold, great Gatefold series that we did a few years ago? Pre-COVID or just about around the time that COVID started, maybe?
I think we were right in the thick of it.
Okay, yes. That made things a lot better, right? So let's get down to it. We've got a lot to talk about, 20 records to talk about. It's going to be a great time. Just before we get started, they call it housekeeping in the game. I got to do this. Just give me a second. There we go.
Yeah, look at that. I'm convinced.
There it is. Now it's gone. That's enough of that. Everyone in the chat, help us out. If you've got any comments or questions, feel free. And let's have a good time with 20 records. So, we ready? Okay, I'm going to go first, and then we'll go around 5 times. Me, Scoot, Devon, and Dave. Are we echoing again? We are a little bit, right?
I'm just seeing some random stuff come in on the chat.
Hey, get used to it. There's going to be a lot of random stuff coming up. And I have
harassment.
The ability
We're getting
to make,
harassed.
I have the ability to make it. There you go. Cheers, Kevin. All right. So, regular viewers will know I start with my short, sharp shock of the day. Before I do that, I've got to just mention something. Just today or yesterday, Jim Durkin of Dark Angel passed away. Just 58 years old. One of the best thrash records of all time. So thanks for the music. Rest in peace, Jim Durkin. Played on the first 3 Dark Angel records, right? They're all great.
That's a sick record.
It's a great record. So yeah, it's kind of sad. I mean, just 58 years old, passed away yesterday. So rest in peace. Everyone, if you've never heard Dark Angel, Darkness Descends, and you like thrash, get on this because it's a classic. It's a classic, right? Right. My short, sharp shock. I have a little bit of a theme today, which I kind of didn't realize until I was looking at the stat, and I was like, oh, there's kind of a theme here. It's like bands, but mainly records that are old, but are kind of new to me. Because like last week, Jason was on and he showed the Dicks Kill from the Heart, if you remember that. And everyone was like, dude, you listening to this record for the first time ever? And he's like, yeah. And people were kind of surprised. But it happens, right? And I realized it's happened to me as well. Like a lot of old stuff that maybe people are familiar with and I'd never heard before. So that's the way it's going to go. But this one, everyone knows this band. I love this band. But this record by this band is new to me. And I got it a couple of weeks ago. It's not much to look at. It's plain white sleeve. I'm echoing, man. What's going on? It's a new Turks. Live record. I'm not generally a fan of like live punk, but this is amazing. It's like recorded live in a Dutch radio studio. Just 5 songs, recorded in 1993. Didn't come out until 95. I saw this band in like 1994. It's one of the best bands I've ever seen, even like to this day. They're amazing. But yeah, like a live in the studio, like 5-track, record. Guess like a couple of tracks from the second album, a couple of tracks from the first album. But so good. Just to be a fan of this band, and I never knew about this record. I've been playing this to death this week. It's funny though, because I went on Discogs to kind of check it out. Apparently, like the band, like wrote a bunch of messages, like different messages on like all the, because it's a DIY like self-release record, so they kind of wrote like messages on the back of each copy. And one guy said like on the back of his, he had what was it? Sad Wings of Destiny, like written in big. And I was like, that's weird, because mine, I don't know if you can see this, mine says Judas Priest rules on the back of it. So like, hey, were the newborn Turks listening to a lot of Judas Priest in like 1995? I thought that was pretty cool. Especially,
would you rather be listening to that Sad Wings of Destiny though?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was amazing. It's really funny. Like, it's like, hey, I got like Judas Priest rules on the back of mine. So I thought it was pretty cool that this garage band
was that like
Judas Priest.
That was like Ripper Owens era in '95.
Yeah. So yeah, great band. Everyone knows this band. This record was new to me, and it's great. Live in the studio, punk record. Ripper. Great record. Great band. This band kind of changed the face of the punk scene, right? In the 90s. Big deal, right? Back in the day.
Does the live atmosphere kind of change the effect that it has?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I've seen them live. If anyone's like seen them live, you know how good they are, right? Like live, just super energetic. I mean, it doesn't. I'm not saying it sounds like a Peel session, but it's like super. Like every instrument is really clear. Like it's a really enjoyable record if you like the Newborn Turks. I mean, I saw some people saying like this is their favorite Newborn Turks record. It kind of captures their sound like better than the studio records. Mm-hmm. So hey, if you like the Newborn Turks, check out the live in '93, 12-inch EP. That's my short, sharp shock of the day.
Nice.
There you go. All right,
awesome.
Scoots, what's your first pick of the day, my friend?
Well, Mike, before I get to that, I have to say I got a little present I made for you.
Oh, look at that!
Oh, that is awesome.
It's getting a little glare on here, but
that's
thought
wonderful.
I'd do a little.
Maybe if you can get that to me, I'll use that as my new thing, my new logo, right?
That's cool.
Wow, how long did that take you?
Royalties.
How long did that take you? That's great, man.
It wasn't a huge amount of time. I don't know, like a few hours over a couple of days. Like I've been trying to get just in the habit of drawing more. Like I kind of got out of it for a while, and I'm kind of rediscovering that it's enjoyable, but without having like commissions say to do. It's like you got to kind of find your own reason to keep doing it. So that was like a good kind of motivator. So
appreciate it.
My first pick. This is something I've had a long time.
Ooh.
I've listened to this record a million times. Dal'Inganno, Fast Forward Records in Providence. I got this at Fast Forward when it was on Steeple Street. It was like $5.99. It was probably like 1990. I don't know, 97 maybe. I didn't know this band at the time. My brother-in-law, at the time I was dating his sister. We weren't married. Her older brother was like an old punk back in the day, which was a little intimidating for me as like an 18-year-old kid.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, you got to hear Dr. No." And I was like, "I've never even heard of them." Like I'm thinking Dr. No, like, from Bad Brains. Just serendipitously walked into Fast Forward that day, $5.99 Dr. No. And this is the record you want to own by these guys.
Yes.
They went on like a definite like thrash metal kind of trip after this, which is like, it's not unenjoyable, but they're still punk. It's like very crossover, but it's like a pretty unique sound. Like I wouldn't even really know how to say like if you like X, Y, or Z, like you'll like this. The lyrics are very dark. There's like a lot of like religious like religious kind of themes in them, like a lot of like kind of horror, but like not like realistic, like almost like kind of like comic book or like horror movie kind of horror. It's like it wasn't like something like you wouldn't have thought like that. This is something they read about in the newspaper. It's like this is kind of like a adolescent kind of interpretation of what like a horrible situation is. But killer record, Mystic, 1985, like kind of legendary dodgy label for bands and like not paying them and whatever. But like this recording is fucking killer.
It's phenomenal. It's amazing.
Like 7-inch, like really great songs, great playing, cool. Mendes art there on the logo. Great photo with like Encyclopedia Brown over here and this cat like wanted in off like a Sergio Leone Western. Unfortunately marred by the ending track Fist Fun.
I was going to say that I can't play that track anymore, but the rest of the record is absolute.
Luckily, it's the last song on side 2, so it's like it's very easy to skip, but it's fucking embarrassing.
It is.
It is what it is, but great record. Love it.
A classic record. Well, I remember when I first like heard that, I was like, "Damn, this is like something really special." A bit metallic.
That's like it's like comfort food for me. It's like I, like all of us do, I'm sure. Like we try to keep like abreast of like new trends, like new releases, whatever. It's like when I just like I want to turn my brain off and not think like, oh, like I should be checking this out or I should be investigating this. It's like I can just pull that out and put that on. It's just like love every second of it. It's great.
Yeah, classic.
The cool thing about Mystic Records, too, I mean, for all the dodginess, I mean, just think of the document that exists because of that label. I mean, a lot of those bands I don't think would have ever had records come out, and it's just amazing to kind of.
It's funny, Devon.
Compilations are like some of my favorite records.
Like before Discogs was like a real entity, I was trying to put together like an online discography of Mystic Records, and it was so long and so like torturous and like. It was insane, but it was like, like they put out a ton of records. There's like a lot of legitimately great punk records on there.
Yeah.
Ill Repute is really great too. Obviously the Dr. No stuff, Italian Saints, False Confession, which was like the guitar player from False Confession plays guitar on this Dr. No record. There's like a lot of great stuff.
On 13, were they on Mystic?
What's that?
Stalag 13.
Yeah,
Stalag 13. That's a good one. Yeah,
that is good.
Scared Straight was one of my that 7, which was great.
They put out a lot of dog shit too. I mean,
we got Power's like the best hardcore comp ever. That was on Mystic, right?
Yeah, with the Authorities. Yeah, that's a great record. That's one of the few comps. There's like no breaks in the songs. Like when you look at the record, it's like goes right through.
RKL.
Yeah, RKO.
Hey, James.
Rat
Thanks
Pack.
everyone for like
No effects, right?
No effects. Yeah.
No effects. Grim.
Well, like, Dr. No was also. They were kind of, I guess, notorious. Their original singer was Brandon Cruz, who was like a child actor on The Courtship of Eddie's Father.
That's right.
Right.
He had already been replaced by the time this record came out. Like you can hear those tracks on like the Best of Dr. No, which was like a packaging of like comp tracks and like the earlier comps. Like Mystic was like kind of famous again for like putting out like 1 million comps, which is cool. Like in its own right, like they're not all killer, but it's like there's like there's a basically unknown mid 80s hardcore band from Northern Rhode Island called Social Disease. And their only actual like vinyl recording is on a Mystic comp. So it's like it's cool. Like they really did like kind of throw a wide net and allow like a lot of people to get exposure when they otherwise wouldn't. And I'm sure like they didn't get paid for it or maybe even got comp records for that parents. But it's cool now that that's something that actually exists.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny that you said that, Dr. No. I had exactly the same thought. I was confused when I was a young lad, I was like, Dr. No from the Bad Brains has this like a solo project. So I just had the tape trading day. I just got the tape of it on a cassette tape, right? It's like, wow, cool.
Yeah.
Dr. No from Bad Brains. Wow. Who knew? That's exactly the same. That's a great pick.
Complex character.
All right, Devon, what's your first pick of the day, my friend?
My first pick of the day is Stevie Wright's Black Eyed Bruiser.
Whoa.
An Australian classic. This never came out in the States, which is surprising because this album is so amazing. I mean, the opening track, Black Eyed Bruiser, I'm a little embarrassed to say I'm like kind of a Stevie Wright newbie because I discovered this song from the film, that Australian film Red Hill. And there's a scene where the cop goes into the bar and they play the jukebox and Black Eyed Bruiser comes on. And it's a Vanda Young production. So it's like this kind of like simultaneous with the first AC/DC LP.
Wow.
But it has that like kick-ass like AC/DC, like kind of really punchy guitar break. It's like mixing AC/DC with like 2001, like the opening and like Gary Glitter. It's like this completely crazy imagining of like AC/DC as this kind of arena rock style band. Like, wow. The one thing that this album suffers from, I think, is that the opening track is so unbelievably awesome that even though the other tracks I think are great, it just like pales in comparison. You just want to like re-listen to that opening song again. So yeah, Stevie Wright, he was in the Easy Beats that you might remember. They have that song, Sunday I got Friday on my mind.
Wow.
You know that.
Wow.
They were like actually one of the first international bands from Australia, and Vanda and Young were actually in that band, and they wrote and produced a bunch of the songs that are on this record. This is his second LP. The first LP has some great songs. You might know Evie. It's like that 3-part song. Evie. but this one is the standout, I think, of his catalog. And this is a cool gatefold. It's got some kind of corny pictures of him. But he was like a giant star, like in Australia. And he's like a huge, I guess Bon Scott was like a huge fan of Stevie.
I was going to say, he
actually
looks like Bon Scott a little bit on that.
And when you watch the Stevie Wright videos, it's actually pretty amazing, like how much Bon like kind of like ripped off like his moves and persona a little bit. It's pretty amazing to really check out any of the videos. But there's some really great tracks. I mean, like Black Eyed Bruiser is a real standout. But there's some really cool stuff on here. Trying to remember. Oh, Help. I mean, it breaks into, it's kind of like dated occasionally. Like you'll hear like that kind of Saturday Night Live saxophone part comes in, like, I don't know. So, you know, it's like 1974. But definitely check it out. I mean, there's a lot of really great heavy tracks on here, kind of mixed in with some lighter, stuff with horns.
Is that more like pub rock or more toward like the glam kind of side, Devon?
It's a weird mix. I think it's like the pub rock thing going on. It's like pre-AC/DC. Like you definitely, like when the song opens, it's like total AC/DC, that guitar part. Oh. And then horns come in, and then it's just this like big dramatic crescendo, like you're listening to like, Thus Spoke Zarathustra from the 2001 soundtrack. It's like this huge, like you think Elvis is going to come out, like, and it's just like a super heavy song. I mean, I can't put into words like how amazing the opening song to this LP is. But like I said, it kind of throws the rest of the album
anything to do with
out of whack a little bit.
Anything to do with that like whole Sharpie scene in Australia back in the 70s? Like that kind of like glam skinhead kind of thing?
That I don't know, like for sure, but I would say no, just based on like the history of Stevie Wright being in the Easy Beats, but I think there is definitely like a pub rock aesthetic that they're borrowing and then adding kind of this super production to, because you have that like I said, that AC/DC kind of riff that's just like it's almost better than any AC/DC song in a weird way. It's gonna.
That's a bold claim.
Shots fired.
I might walk that one back, but it is pretty. It's like hearing AC/DC in a really unfamiliar environment, like when the horns come in and this is like dramatic production that happens. Yeah, it's not stripped down.
I'm really excited right now. I'm doing this and like going, and because I'm the new first time for me to ever even hear about this guy. So totally new to me. So I'm excited. I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, definitely check this out. I think it's going to blow you away.
That's a great pick. I'm really excited about that because I've never heard of it, and your description, so I'm really keen to check it out.
Cool.
Nice. All right, Dave, what you got for your first pick?
All right, I'm going for on the much discussed Radio Raheem Records, the Agnostic Front, No One Rules double LP. The mastering on this is just superb, I gotta say.
Totally overmodulated.
Bit of an inside joke.
Great cover too, guys.
But this is just such like a killer document. So this is all their rehearsals at Don Fury's studio around the time of like United Blood, 7-inch, and Pre-Victim in Pain. It's all those songs, but like in just like a super raw form. They're like working them out. They're like talking to each other in the studio. As like a, like everybody else, I picked up my guitar during COVID that I hadn't touched in like years. It's like, I'm gonna start playing guitar again. And this is like an excellent record to just like thrash out to. The songs are pretty simple, and it's a good confidence builder. But it's just like, I don't know, it's like the Dead Sea Scrolls of like hardcore or something.
Radio Raheem, they're knocking out the park. I'm a late comer to that label. I picked up a couple of things because of this show. They're both amazing. Like old.
Great label.
It's like a really killer, thick booklet of just like old flyers and photos, and just like a real top-notch production.
Yeah, they put in the work, right?
Cool photo on the back.
Except for the mastering.
CBGB. Yeah,
Pooch has that design on lockdown. Like his design sense is so good.
Yeah.
And it also came, I'm going to cheat here. This is like 2.5 records, but it comes with a bonus of or repress of the United Blood 7-inch, the extended pre-mixed down recording, whatever that means. But
nice.
For those of us who are never going to get a legit copy of United Blood, this will do.
Nice. That's a great pick. Great label.
Yeah, that label does really proper tributes to that old stuff.
Yeah. Best in the game, absolutely. All right, let me deal with some of these comments and then we'll move on to the second round. It's funny, so I was gonna mention this, but it's like Clifford said, "Hey dudes, so many shaved heads. Did you guys plan this? I don't know if we're all shaved. Some of us are naturally this way."
This episode sponsored by Murray's Wig Shop.
Yeah. If you just tuned in, we're not the Cockney Rejects. I'm not interviewing the Dropkick Murphys today. Yeah. What else? Kevin says that No Tag was on Radio Raheem. That's a New Zealand band, right? Yeah. There you go. All right. Damn, it's round 2 already. It's my turn, right? Italian hardcore. 80s Italian hardcore, like one of the best genres, out there. All the classics. I just kind of listened to a band that I'd never ever heard before. I bought this record. It was in Disc Union. I read the description. Sounds pretty good. Talking about this thing. I mean, this is new to me. I'd never heard it before. It's talking about Nerorgasmo. I guess it's like, look at the size of this thing. Look at that. This will
it's
save
like
your
a
life.
craft box set.
The record is a book.
So I could killed someone.
How many records are in there?
But this is like their entire discography, I guess.
Mm.
But I think like people like the 7-inch. So it's got the 7-inch from like 1985 on it, and then some unreleased tracks. There's a live side. Even the live side is decent. And then they've got the whole LP that they reformed, I guess, in the 90s and put out an LP. I really like the LP. It's like just a little bit more polished, which I kind of like. But yeah, it's just great classic Italian hardcore of the era, but with some like death rock and kind of gothic influences going on there, which kind of like sets it apart a little bit from the other Italian bands. Kind of got dark feel to it. Maybe a little bit of like rudimentary Peni in there or something like that. Like the whole aesthetic is kind of like that too. I mean, there's this huge booklet with like.
Oh, that looks cool.
I mean, it'll take a long time to show the whole thing, but people like to look at this stuff. Here, what have we got? Yeah. I feel like FOAD did a really good job with this. I've been a bit cheeky about FOAD on occasion, but I think they did a really, really good job with this thing. It's beautiful.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, if you dig in,
Nice.
I mean, I don't know, is this digging deep? I don't know, because apparently a lot of people are aware of this band, but for me it was like digging a little bit deep. But,
yeah, I've never heard of it.
I think like the 7-inch got like a standalone reissue, and so there's that.
That's all I've ever heard. I've never heard that whole collection there.
I mean, I think the 7-inch is kind of considered like the best stuff, but I really like the LP too. It's kind of hard to find, so it's nice to have that. Just a great package. It's great to discover
Is that Life Preserver core, Mike?
What's that?
Is that Life Preserver core? The Life Jacket hardcore reissue?
Yes. Like I said, it's like you're on the Titanic. This will probably help you out.
Exactly.
I was going to get the
Float
tape
to
measure
safety on that.
but this is like, it's not even it's like a hard book, you know. It's not like a puffy jacket. It's actually like a hardbound book. Really cool. They also put a lot of money into this, but great band.
Yeah. The design of that reminds me like a Paul Chain album or something like that.
It has got that horror aesthetic to it and death rock. I can't show the whole thing, but really nice looking record. And just Italian hardcore. You can't beat it. There you go.
Good stuff.
That looks awesome.
All right, Scoots. What's your second pick?
You know, I ordered all my choices for tonight, but I'm going to change it up now because, you know, I like when people kind of play organically off of the choice before it. So
Nice. Okay. Cool.
I'm skipping ahead, continuing with the Italian hardcore theme. This is, if you can't see it, Indigesti.
That's my favorite.
Their first, I think, only LP.
Yeah.
Italian hardcore, 1985. Absolutely killer, fast, blazing hardcore. You know, these guys are legendary for being one half of like one of the most jock 7-inches of all time. The wretched Indigesti split 7-inch. Maybe the most like the most sought after kind of grail split punk record. Is there one above that? I honestly don't know. Chaos Cadres maybe, but this record is killer. To me, it sounds like an Italian Bad Brains. Like it's just fucking speed, like no reggae parts. And you know, again, I don't speak Italian, so like we were kind of talking about this before we went live. Like one of the cool things about Italian or foreign hardcore to me is I don't know how bad the lyrics might be. So it's like, you know, I love Bad Brains and music, but some of their lyrics can be a little dodgy. This, as far as I know, you know, they're singing about Stromboli or whatever. It's cool. It's just killer, fast, fucking tight hardcore, great drumming. And yeah, the singer is really cool. Like I could see people maybe being a little put off by his voice because it's like, it's this kind of range where he does these like high falsetto kind of shrieks. Again, it kind of reminds me of HR from Bad Brains. But I love this record. Definitely like a candidate for worst cover art to greatest content
There's
on a
two
record.
different covers, though, right?
Like just completely puzzling. Like if you guys can't, like what on earth are they thinking of this? Like, it makes no sense. This font is
It
totally.
looks like that Fred Frith Danger House.
Yeah, it's bad. I don't get it at all. Like if you ever just didn't know what this was and saw this in a record shop, you would flip immediately past it. This is such like 10 out of 10 killer fast hardcore. It's fucking awesome. And it's weird too because it's like this is pretty affordable still. Like this isn't like you could get this. I think probably like under like $75.
Yeah, it's like it's on TVOR, right? Which is one of those.
Yeah, TVOR. There's two pressings. I think the original is on blue vinyl, and there's a blue press on black. This is on black.
It has a slightly different cover art. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm making a chat is saying the singer sounds like Rusty H.R. That's accurate. Like, who doesn't love Ric Flair? I mean, come on.
Styling and profiling and Indigesti.
Exactly.
God, I'm not going to be able to unhear that now. Thanks, Mike.
up there with Riot for like worst cover art to like best like musical content
music
on
ratio.
Record. Like that fucking seal harp, whatever they were, harp seal rather. Like what they were thinking with that is beyond me. But like, don't judge a book by its cover because that record is killer.
Classic. That's probably my favorite Italian full length. I mean,
and again, it's like it's pretty affordable. So like we're all like scumbag record collectors. It's like you can buy that LP for like easily less than $100, and honestly, it's way better than the wretched Indigesti split, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
It's not like the Indigesti tracks on that split. Like they're cool. It's very raw and like demo-y kind of sounding. Like this is polished. It's like great production. Like the band is tight as a drum. You know, it's always, I think it's like kind of a running joke, like demo era only or like first 7-inch only. Like once a band actually like learns how to play their instruments, like you have to abandon them. But it's like this is killer. Like just great stuff.
This, crazy energy to it, and there's no
it's super like you want to just jump out of your seat. Like
you really do.
Like,
you do, yeah.
I mean, it's very energetic. It's like emotional. Like I don't know what the hell they're singing about, but it's like it's just like propulsive, like explosive energy. Like like in the best way that Bad Brains does it too. I think
classic. Absolute classic. 10 out of 10. Everyone, if you haven't heard Indigesti, that album, check it out. It's a classic. We're on fire tonight. Good show. All right, Devon, what's your second pick of the day?
Yeah, I'm going to roll with the transition here and do something Italian as well. This one's a little different, but looking at a horror movie soundtrack for The Shock. This is Italian prog band Libra. You might know their first record is quite famous, though it's kind of not my bag. It's kind of fusion-y kind of stuff, like high musicianship, but low interest for me. But this soundtrack, this is a Japanese pressing, and then I also have the Italian.
Oh, wow.
Kind of a cool cover as well.
Wow.
So this is from, it's a Mario Bava, I think it was his last film, actually, last full-length feature. And this is a creepy, great film in and of itself, but this soundtrack really adds to that element. And it's also a soundtrack that, unlike a lot of soundtracks, works on its own. I mean, it's just a great mix of different stuff. I mean, I think the opening kind of main theme is in that kind of fusion element.
Right.
But it's excusable because it's like you hear it in the movie and kind of think about the other stuff. But then there's two guys from Goblin that join Libra on this, so that there's a lot of Goblin-esque kind of references in there, and then just some crazy noise stuff. It's just like the creepiest record to listen to, like on your own, even when you're not watching the movie. So yeah, this is one of my favorites. I think this is right up there with like the Suspiria soundtrack, the Goblin, classic. So great movie, and probably even greater soundtrack, I would say, to that film. But I would definitely recommend checking this out if you like creepy, soundtracks, things that are going to like be a little upsetting, maybe when you listen to them, maybe give you bad dreams later at night. This is a really cool record. And so this is a Japanese pressing. If anyone has a line on one with an obi, I'm a collector.
I was waiting for that.
I am looking for that, but the Italian pressing is pretty cool. It's
I like that one.
completely
Yeah,
different
that's a great cover.
artwork, and it's like totally hardcore in a way. It's got this back cover too that looks like a hardcore record. It's a hand drawn box cutter. Anyway, I would recommend if you're a fan of Goblin soundtracks or Goblin stuff just in general, and even like it's surprising to find out it was Libra, because aside from that opening track, like the stuff's like pretty heavy and pretty intense in a way I wouldn't imagine, having listened to that first Libra LP, which is just kind of like jazz brunch, like fusion kind of stuff.
What year did the movie come out?
I think it was 79. Yeah, 79. I think it was Mario Bava's last full-length film. And I think his son, Lamberto, I think was actually like pretty heavily involved. Pretty heavily involved in it, because I think Mario was getting up there at that point.
Wow.
But that movie, if you haven't seen that movie, it's a great movie too. But the soundtrack is really unbelievably good.
That's fun. I've been listening to this band called Zombie. They're an American band, like a duo on Relapse. They're like, the soundtrack stuff. I love that band. They're great. I was going to talk about them today, but I didn't. Cool. Yeah. But that's fine. Yes. Wow.
Yeah, I have that Zandt Elephant on. I can't remember what it's called, but that one's really good.
One. That's kind of good band. That's another one. See, that I think I'm going to like, and I've never heard of or never seen before. But I'm going to be on the lookout for the Japanese one.
Yeah, if you find it, I'll
with
be
the obi. If I find another one, I'll hook you up.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, there you go. All right, nice. The Shock.
I'll check the Woonsocket Salvation Army for you.
I'm sure you'll find one then.
All right, Dave. What's your third pick of the day?
I'm gonna break the Italian streak, but I do have a soundtrack I'd like to offer up, which is a Tangerine Dream Sorcerer soundtrack to the William Friedkin film, which is a remake of a 1930s film called The Wages of Fear. This one is much easier to sit through. I've found stars Roy Scheider. Most people would know him from Jaws. But basically the premise of the movie is these, I don't know if they're like convicts or ex-cons or just like guys down on their luck, but they get hired to drive a truck of, I think it's like dynamite or nitroglycerin or something through the rainforest. Yeah. And like over these makeshift bridges and like through like just like the forest where there's impassable roads, and it's a very suspenseful film, and this soundtrack is just like full of like dread and suspense. It's like an uncomfortable listen. Tangerine Dream, they're like a synthesizer based group. They got a little new agey at one point, but this is almost like a kind of like a straight up like horror soundtrack almost. It's really heavy, it's really suspenseful. I think it's one of my favorite records by them for sure.
Wow.
Ben Barnett actually turned me on to that movie years and years ago. And it's one of the few movies I've actually watched and had a really kind of visceral, like I was actually like digging my fingers into the couch, like it's so stressful. And the soundtrack like really adds to that experience of that film. It's an amazing movie and amazing soundtrack. I totally agree. That's an awesome pick.
And like the thing that's so crazy about it is like what you're seeing in the movie, like they did that with the truck and everything going over like this like rope suspension bridge or whatever. It's like there's not any special effects or anything like that.
Wow. I've got that record.
Yeah, that's the definition of practical effects.
Man, I love Tangerine Dream. How far can you go with that band? Like, because their discography is huge, right?
Yeah.
It gets a little bit dodgy around like the 90s. It kind of starts to, but great band. When did that?
I've gone up to like the mid 80s so far.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything past like probably like 84 or 85 or something, but it's all good up till then.
The Thief soundtrack is another good one, right?
Which one?
The Thief.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah,
by Tangerine Dream.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a great soundtrack too, right?
Great movie too.
Yeah. Nice. I always like to see Tangerine Dream on this show. Good band. All right, I'm gonna kind of go with something not adjacent, but not too dissimilar. I'm going to go to Japan, like 1973, a group that put out just like one record, and then they changed their name and put out a few records, and then like members of that band went on to be like these like big new age artists and have like hundreds and hundreds of really horrible records in the 80s, like Kitaro. You know Kitaro? Devon?
Oh, I know what this is.
You know what it is?
Family Band.
Yeah, and it's just been reissued. The median on Discog is like $2,000 for an original on Denon, but thankfully it just got reissued by Everland Psych, and it's an official, legit reissue. Talk about this record.
Oh yeah, so good.
It really is. I mean, like Far Out, Nihonjin, 2 tracks. It's pretty mellow.
Like, do you know the legacy of what that band, like there was Far Out and then Far East Family Band.
That's it.
So when you as soon as you said Kitaro, I was like, oh, Far East Family Band, because I have Far East Family Band, Nihonjin, but it's like I think some of those things need to be on that record.
Okay, so that's a good question. So basically, like they kind of morphed into like the Far East Family Band, right? And then like on the second, like Nihonjin's like the Far East Family Band's second album, and then they re-recorded Nihonjin, right, for that record, and they, I think it's like a lot of the same guys plus Kitaro, who was using his real name at that time. So there's like more like synths and like Mellotron added to that version of this. I kind of like this one better, but they're both good. But yeah, it's like it's prog, it's psych, it's hard rock, it's space rock, it's crowd rock. It's like that's the one. Hey, I've got this one too, which is Scoots.
Oh yeah, I have that one.
Scoots,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I love the motto on the bottom of this: "Join our mental phase sound."
Yes.
Like that's so great.
Scoots, is that the Akarma one? Which pressing is that?
No, this is an original. It's like this as far as like the Japanese like kind of proto metal or proggy kind of hard rock records went. This was not one that was like heavily jocked. So it was like this was very affordable. I don't know now. Like I've had this for like 10 years probably, but like I'm sure I paid like less than like $35 for this when I got it.
It's a bit confusing because that's like their second album. The one I'm holding is like their first album, and they kind of look similar. And then there's like I want to say there's like an English language version of that record as well.
It's very confusing,
right? Yes.
And again,
I think that's the one that got the Akarma repress. I think is the English language version.
This is a like Muland Japanese original, but
yeah, the Muland label is awesome.
Yeah, that's what it is, right?
But
like the lighting in here is terrible, but and they like evolved out of Far Out. I think Far Out was like the very first one, right?
That's it. Yes, this came first. Yeah, but this is just amazing. I mean, it's like they get compared to like Pink Floyd a little bit. Fair enough, it's not too far off, but they've got their own things, like that Eastern thing. There's like electric sitars in there. It's very definitely very Eastern sounding. There's some heavy parts in it, but even the quiet parts are really, really enjoyable. It's like really, really well done. Kind of maybe a bit like Eloy, something like German kraut rock, prog rock, but they've got their own thing going. It's really, 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 really.
That's like light a stick of incense and like sit down with a drink and like relax. It's not like Flower Traveling Band where it's like scares you out of your skin with like literally the first note that comes out of the speaker.
More mellow, but it kind of does build up into a couple of like heavy crescendos like now and again. But I love it because it's like it's a mellow record, but it's not boring. It's like it keeps you like captivated from start to finish. It's kind of a classic, like in my opinion. But it's funny. I was like, I was looking it up on like Prog Archives, and man, the reviews on there just are all over, from like -5 out of 10 to like a masterpiece. But it's hilarious reading all the different like. People don't get it. It's like it's kind of a little, not amateurish, but it's kind of got a certain charm to it. I would kind of say. I don't know.
It's funny how Eurocentric that Prog Archives reviews can be sometimes.
I shouldn't look at it really, but it's kind of fun sometimes to look like.
Yeah, some of them are over the top.
It's funny how these like online reviewers, like you're reviewing like a demo release from like a fifth-rate hardcore band, and you're like upset that it sounds like dog shit. Like, dude, what did you expect going into it? It's like if you don't like that sound, like why are you even investigating this in the first place? Like if you have a problem with how far out sounds, it's like, what were you even looking for? Like you should know what it sounds like before you even like. I don't know. It's like you're operating under some like false sense of.
It's like I guess you get people that have only listened to like King Crimson and Genesis, and then they get this, and they don't really know what to make of it. Kind of thing. But, yeah.
It's one of the cool things that's happening right now with all the amazing represses of the Jap psych stuff that came out in that era. And the represses are really super nice. Like I got the Strawberry Path repress recently. It's like I don't need to own like an original one because this repress is like so gorgeous.
I got the exact same one. It's beautiful.
The same with like a lot of the old psych stuff that's coming out. Like the reissues are just gorgeous. And for like less than $50, it's like having the $2,000 record.
That's right. And I like that. I like the artwork on this. It's just like so like not 1973.
Yeah,
it's kind of it stands out.
Yeah, I remember when I saw that in the Disc Union for the first time. I was like thinking that was like an '80s, like from the '80s or something.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But classic. If you want to dig deeper into like Japanese '70s prog, hard rock, psychedelic rock, it's definitely one of the good ones. So Far Out and Nihonjin. 1970. This is the recent reissue.
I gotta check those out. I haven't heard of any of it.
There you go. Everland. This is really easy to get, I think, at the moment. It's like pretty new, like reissue. There you go.
And if you're into the Japanese psych stuff too, just to throw it out there, that Julian Cope book, Matt Average from Engine Zine fame turned me onto this, but it's a great kind of catalog, if nothing else, of all the stuff that was happening at that time.
That was a good thing and a bad thing, that book.
Yeah.
Because people, record store owners here suddenly realized they could start like charging a lot of money for stuff. Good for them. They had all these records that they couldn't sell for decades, and all of a sudden, got people like me like wanting to like buy them all.
He had a great website for a while. I don't know if it's still going, but I'll totally admit, like that's where I learned like about a lot of those bands. Like I learned about Flower Traveling Band, and I mean not even just the Japanese stuff. Bebop Deluxe, I don't know, probably like Leaf Hound, like a lot of that kind of 70s, like again, like what we call like proto metal now, whether it was just like hard prog or whatever. It's like he was championing a lot of that stuff. And I learned about so much of that stuff from that website back then. It was great. And I like that book. Like I bought that book when it came out because I was like following the website, but like respect to him for kind of leading the charge on a lot of that.
It's funny for me because
Jerusalem, I think that was another one that he had on there.
It's funny because like the Teardrop Explodes, and they were huge in the UK, so it's pretty cool to like see him digging all that more obscure stuff. Pretty cool. All right, Scoots. Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, he was like so enthusiastic about it that it was just like. A lot of that stuff, when I would listen to it, I'd be like, kind of like, well, whatever. It's like, it's interesting, but I was kind of lukewarm about it personally. But like his level of enthusiasm, like it would at least like lead you to like check it out and like investigate it, which is cool,
All right, Scoots, what's your third pick of the day?
All right, so I got to show a local fave here.
Oh,
nice.
A lot of glare in there. Six Finger Satellite, Severe Exposure. This is 1995 on Sub Pop. these guys were totally a mainstay of every live show that was played in the 90s in Providence. This stuff, if you haven't heard it, it's kind of like a more aggressive guitar-driven Kraftwerk. Like,
Wow.
they're into, like, they toured with like Jesus Lizard, Shellac, very heavily during this period. So like that'll kind of give you like an idea of their sound. Lots of synthesizers, lots of very aggressive guitars, like disco kind of beats. It's like a very well-known kind of story about how they formed. Like they sent like what was supposedly like a kind of prank demo to Sub Pop as like a kind of like grunge band. And they got signed on like the basis of that. Again, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is like the story that's out there. But very soon after that, they started adding like synths, lots of Moogs on like the record prior to this. Pigeon's the most popular bird, which is fucking phenomenal. This one though, like when this came out, like I saw them live so many times in Providence when this came out. Like it was a great time. Lots of great bands at the time. You know, people all over the world know about Four Thunder, the scene in Providence at the time, Arabon Radar, Hydrogen Terrors, Lightning Bolt, Six Finger Satellite. Like for me, this was like kind of yeah, just great record, like great showman, like dangerous sounding, like cyborg noise rock. So this LP came with a bonus 12-inch. It's like a remix of Rabies, which is and apparently this is kind of like a minor banter now. Apparently, like I bought this new when it came out. Killer record. They went like again, like they started this kind of pseudo grunge kind of thing, which is really, frankly, not really interesting. Started adding the synths in, and then like got more synthy like as they went along. So it's like you can kind of listen to their albums in sequence and kind of follow that kind of progression, and it's fun. Like to me, this or like the one just preceding it, like when I first heard it, like I was in high school, like I think I heard it on like local college radio, and like that just totally sucked me in. But this, when it came out, was like my mind was blown. And again, seeing them live, like they were so good. They played so many times, like fucking keytar. Who could ever think a band with a keytar is going to be fucking good? But I mean, these guys.
Come on, Jem and the Holograms are pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more of a Misfits fan. But yeah, no, this is a killer record. You guys should definitely check it out if you haven't heard it. Again, like, if you're a fan of like Suicide, Chrome, MX80 sound, Kraftwerk, certainly, like this will be kind of in your wheelhouse and just great stuff.
I know the name. I've never checked them out. But I'm
1995.
Talk about records that need to be reissued. All that stuff on Sub Pop is out of print, and it's like ridiculous prices used.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like I saw someone looking for that, and I was like you can't just go online and buy that for like $25. And like when I looked, I was like, no, it's like selling for like a lot of money. And they've got a lot of records out. Like right after this, they did a 12-inch EP called Clone Theory, which is kind of like this very similar sound, similar kind of songs that they were playing live at the time. But they've got like a bunch of 7-inches out, like some of them also at the same time. Live at the ACI, Coke and Mirrors. They're all really good. Like if you were into like touch and go records kind of stuff, like in the mid '90s. But again, it's got that kind of more like it's like a disco kind of beat a lot of times. Very synthy kind of cyborg, sci-fi kind of sound effects. Yeah, that's a great 7-inch right there. And again, seeing them live, it's like to me, it's like that's how like for me, if I don't ever see a band live, it's hard for me to kind of get that like emotional connection. And they played so often, and just the bills were always great. Like I don't know, like I've got so many posters like in the other room of shows that we were at the time. And it's like literally like every weekend I just don't see them play like another great bill with like, any of the 10 great bands that were in Providence at the time. So yeah, it's a killer release.
Killer.
One of my regrets is that I saw them in the '90s, but it was like right after that original lineup broke up, and it was with the guys from two guys from Landed. I think they came back with them, and I personally thought it was like a great show. But everybody I went with had seen what had happened before, and they were like, "Yeah, it's not the same. Like you missed it."
That's when Dancing Jakes was playing with them.
No, it was before that. It was Sean Greenlee and somebody else. It was before Dan. Yeah,
they've had a lot of lineup changes. Apparently, like they had like again, like I don't know what you read online and what is real, but apparently like drug issues over the years. So it's like apparently like members died, like came in and out. Like John McClane, who played guitar on that record and synths. Like he ended up doing this group called the Juan McClane, which is like, if you listen to that, like it literally sounds like straight up disco, and it's good. Like if you have like an ear for that, but again, it's funny to see the transition from just like aggressive, like metallic post-hardcore guitars, and then like if you see like there's live footage on YouTube you can find where it's like he's playing guitar on one track. The next one he switched it to a synth, and then again, if you want to follow his career, like seeing like it go just like pure synth, like pure disco, and yeah, like Dave mentioned, like members in Landed, which is another like kind of famous Providence like noise rock band, Chinese Stars, like Providence. Again, this is like something we started talking about a little bit before we went live. Like Rhode Island is the smallest state in the country. Providence is very, very small, very incestuous. So it's like every band that you want to mention, it's like you can connect them with some other band. Like they've got like members in common. They've got like this guy's brother is in this band. It's like it's just like a very intertwined kind of stew. But it was great, and I mean that to me is kind of like my favorite time in like Providence music was like like that mid to late 90s. It was just like so fruitful and so interesting.
Great. Before we move on, we've got to deal with the sound because it's horrendous. I don't know what's going on.
You lost your advanced sound privileges, Mike.
It's not my end, I don't think. It's like this this huge echo that we're getting. I don't know why.
Kevin's comments are priceless over here.
Yeah, it's like touching the mic that won't work. It's okay. I'm just gonna have to like plow through it and see what happens. We did the best we can.
It sounds all right to me. I don't know. Maybe my ears are shot at this point.
It was really bad for me just now, but I don't know. Let's plow on.
I'm really disappointed with the mastering of this episode.
What? Mastering, yeah. Got that Radio Raheem guy. Shouldn't have had him do the sound on the episode.
This is the demo version.
That's what I thought. If someone is watching through a phone and a laptop at the same time, turn the sound off on the laptop and just use the phone volume. There's definitely like sound coming through another device somewhere. That's what's happening. Yeah, that's what's happening.
Get on that, Mike.
I'm muted, guys. It's not me echoing. My mic is muted.
Actually, you're not echoing now. That's amazing. All right, let's plow on. Okay, whose turn is it?
Can you hear me at this point?
Yeah.
Oh, but I can't hear you. That doesn't work.
Yeah. All right. Devon, what's your next pick of the day?
All right, so we're going to take a journey into sublime absurdity.
God, it's our dad.
We're going to add another Baldy.
Right. Just to make this the baldest episode ever.
Yeah, rub it in.
Just looking at you, kid.
Just looking at you. Yeah, so this record is one of those records that you buy as a joke, but then it ends up just kind of like embedding itself so deeply into your mind that I just find myself like when I can't think of something that I want to listen to, I just pull this out because there are some really kind of amazing things that happen on this record. I think Telly Savalas' singing career must have been concurrent with like Richard Harris singing like MacArthur. There's a lot of these like crazy songs on here, like this rubber bands and bits of string. It's just like this crazy poem that he's like talking over music, but then it goes into this crazy, almost like a not quite a falsetto, but like a kind of like he takes it up a notch, and it's just so off key that it causes some sort of sympathetic vibration in your body that just makes you need to re-listen to it over and over again. I mean, it's just, there's so many great things that happen on this record. And I don't know, like if you guys are real Telly files, like I am.
Dabble.
But some things like if you want to expand your experience of listening to the Telly Savalas record, I would definitely check out Telly Savalas telling a ghost story on YouTube. That's another really sublime experience. Matt Average from Reagan SS and I will often like watch movies together, and we do these telethons, and so we'll kind of weave together all these videos and things that we're watching. But the other amazing thing to check out is Telly Savalas did, like in the 70s, it was really big to do a variety show, like to kind of capitalize on your fame. So at like the peak of his Kojak fame, he did this crazy variety show where he does a lot of singing, and you just can't figure out like why did they decide to like put this guy like on the mic. But it works in a weird way. Like I think there's a kitsch element to it, of course, but he does some really great covers that are just like way out of his league. Like He's Lost That Lovin' Feeling is on here, and it's just like he just kind of meanders through it. You and Me Against the World is another classic that appears on, but it's like you buy it, like you kind of get into it because you think it's going to be funny, and it's kind of funny, but it really does kind of like embed itself in your mind in a way that I wasn't really expecting it to. Yeah, there's just so many good songs on here. But If is like his classic. Like you might, I mean, you're from England, you might remember. I mean, when I was on tour with Dropdead in the late '90s, we'd go to the Flow Mocks, and they would just be littered with these Telly Savalas 7-inches. Like he was like a big deal over there. But I would definitely recommend checking this out if you have any interest whatsoever in Telly Savalas, even if it's only like to listen to rubber bands and bits of string and If. It's just like amazing that these things exist.
In the UK. It was a big hit in the UK.
Yeah.
Kojak, of course.
I like Kojak. The disclaimer. If you have any interest in Telly Savalas, 2023,
it's kind of a prerequisite, I think, if you're really going to go all in. Like,
I've never heard of this guy, but maybe I'll check this record out. Okay.
some deep tracks of Telly Savalas, but you have to check out the Telly Savalas ghost story. It is like an experience that you will never forget. Yeah.
Anyway, who loves you, baby?
And I forgot. The thread I was going to make originally that you guys kind of broke it up was that Telly Savalas was actually kind of in two, but actually one Mario Bava movies. Lisa and the Devil, that was then never officially released, but then kind of re-edited and made into The House of Exorcism, which is like a really great movie. Telly Savalas plays the devil. So there's the Mario Bava connection
on a hard drive forever, and I still haven't watched it.
Oh,
It's
great.
on.
I mean, Telly and
It's on
anything is
Canopy
great.
if you're on Canopy.
Hey, I think we solved the echo problem. Thanks, Telly. Telly Savalas.
Dad needed to come in,
There he is.
straighten these kids out.
There he is. My mum loved him. She really was obsessed with him. Like, Kojak was it, right? Kojak.
Yeah,
Who loves you? Who loves you, baby? That was his catchphrase.
Who loves you, baby?
All right. Didn't expect him on the show. It's good to see him again. All right. Dave, what's your fourth pick?
I picked Innumerable Forms.
Ooh.
This is their first LP. I believe they have a new or fairly new one out, which I haven't got yet. I haven't heard yet. But yeah, this is killer. It's kind of like, I guess, maybe like sort of like a super group of various people. The main person being Justin Detour, who's been in, Mind Eraser and every band that Chris Corey is in, and the list goes on and on.
Hi, Chris.
But it's really killer. I guess drawing inspiration from like early 90s like Finnish death metal and like those kind of like Finnish death metal like demo bands. It's not like a rip of it or anything, but certainly influenced by that, especially like bands like Demigod. I feel like I don't know like too deep in that scene, but just a really like, I don't know, heavy atmospheric kind of like slow and crushing like death, almost doomy metal. It has a really killer synthesizer intro by what's his name? This guy from the Boston area who releases records under the name of Missionary Work.
That's a great record. I can't get the new
Yeah,
one.
highly recommended. This is on Profound Lore,
Yep.
and I don't know if you can still get it, but it's just like a really pulverizing listen.
Nice. That Demigod record was great too. That's just been reissued as well. The Demigod album. That's a killer too.
Mm-hmm. I gotta get it. Sure.
All right. My turn. Fourth round. LA 82. Jesus, I'm echoing here. Why is that? Okay. LA 82. Los Angeles, 1982. These crazy spacemen from space who had their own language and like released one record that didn't sell anything, and then Yellow Biafra like discovered them and like reissued the record in like in the 90s, I think it's come up. But well, Zolar X.
Oh yeah.
That's a fun record.
If you remember, the thing with this show is bands or old records that I've never heard before, and people are thinking, why the hell haven't you heard this? It's like right up your alley, you're thinking right now, right? Because it really is. It's like glam, it's punk, it's hard rock, super catchy. Like, why have you never heard this band before? I don't know why I've not heard this band before. It's like I saw this in a record store like a few weeks ago. Kind of rang a bell. Alternative Tentacles. It was like 1,000 yen or something. Picked it up, played it to death. I got it down. So I don't know. There's even that bit of like Eddie Van Halen guitar thing going on this record a little bit. Places, which is pretty crazy.
When I first saw that in the store, like I had never heard of them, like I hadn't read anything about them, but just the cover alone, like I was totally sold. And it's accurate, like it lives up to the cover.
Exactly. It's like, but the original cover was different. It's like, wasn't it like hand drawn thing? And it was like a private press kind of thing. And it's basically just demos, right? Like demos that they just put out themselves. And I guess this version has like extra tracks. From.
Hey, Mike, hold up that cover so the fans can see it.
Sorry, I'm moving around. There we go. Okay.
Amazing, right?
And the picture on the back is cool too, right?
I like the comment, but just
that's what you're getting today. Yeah.
We should have worn our silver lame suits today.
But I don't know. glam rock, punk rock, bit of heavy metal, bit of punk. Every song's super catchy.
I feel like that could have informed like the Rosillos. Like it's like
There
a
you go.
kind of similar,
Yeah.
like poppy, sci-fi, kind of fun, glammy punk.
Yeah.
Like obviously they took it to another level, like the costumes and like the language and all that jazz. But
I saw some people are complaining about the costume, saying like detracted from the great music. I don't think so.
That's impossible.
Yeah.
Great record. That reminds me of, I think it was last week, Mike. You, it was either last week or the week before, where you had a Man or Astro Man pick. And again, that's like a band I saw a couple of times in the '90s, and like it was like, yeah, they wore like dumb costumes. I know at least one of the shows I went to, it was something like cover charge was like $6 or $5 if you wore something made out of tinfoil. But it's like, so I can see how, like, if you're like some music snob, you would say like that detracted. But for me, like at the time, I was like, oh, this is just like, it's a fucking barrel of laughs. Like,
going back to that new Bomb Turks thing, I saw Man or Astro Man in Bristol right in the 90s. They are just one of the best bands I've ever seen. They were incredible.
Yeah, no, I saw them a couple of times and they were great both times.
I feel like I read
you need to have the whole...
they said they were kind of influenced by Zolar X. That would make sense, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah. So
you need to come at it with the whole package. I think you gotta have some sort of concept.
Yeah. Apparently they made a new record.
Bring the whole package.
I haven't heard it, but great record. People might be surprised that I've never heard this before, but I'm literally 3 weeks in with this record, and I love it. Love it to death. Zolar X, timeless, alternative tentacles. There you go.
Good stuff, and it's cheap and available.
Yeah.
Awesome pick. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Scoots.
So for my fourth one.
Oh, lovely.
This is a record I've listened to like a ton over the last like year or two. Obsessió on the great La Vida es un Mus label. So this is like a Greek / Spanish kind of hybrid band. Like just furious, fast, kind of Swedish style hardcore. For me, what makes this band is the vocals.
Yep.
The singer Angela. First of all, when I first heard this, I did not think this was a woman. I don't know why I bought this to begin with, but like I was sold on the vocals. They're just like bloodthirsty, savage, like killer hardcore vocals. But later, like like we all do, like you go in, you try to read the backstory. It's this woman, Angela. She's the vocalist in some other bands, Barcelona, Fermeza. This is a great record. I don't know. Like, I don't have a ton to say about it. Like over like the last few years, like again, trying to investigate more new punk and hardcore bands. One thing I've noticed for myself is I'm always interested in stuff that's trying to recreate like a U.S. hardcore 1980s kind of aesthetic, like white men yelling at each other. That's cool in the 80s. Like, it just doesn't get me out of bed really in the morning at this point. But like female vocals, and especially like female vocals in Spanish for some reason, I've been finding like a ton of great stuff like down that road. Rata Negra also on the same label.
Yes.
Abyecta. Who are some other ones? Pharmaco, Tasco, Uzi. Like, if you tell me it's like female vocals sung in Spanish, hardcore, I will check it. I don't care. Like, that is like the minimum level to get me like. And they're not always great. Like, don't get me wrong. This is fucking great. Like, this is furious fucking hardcore.
That one
it's
definitely
short.
stands out from the pack.
Yeah. And again, like I think I bought this kind of like sight unseen. Like, I'm not even sure why, but absolutely killer, like furious fucking hardcore. This woman's vocals are fucking killer. Her other bands too. Like, so after I heard this, like I went back and I checked out some of the other ones, like Barcelona again, like really cool, like a little more noisy. Remains I thought was like a little more straightforward, like didn't really knock me out so much, but yeah, this is a killer record. So like if you're into like honestly, it's like Totalitar with like a female Spanish singer. Like how could you go wrong with that? So good stuff.
Really catchy too, though. I thought. Like, that's
yeah, and I mean, again, like I have like a passing kind of understanding of Spanish, so it's like you can kind of follow along, but it's like I mean, the cover kind of tells the story. It's like, you know, this fucking dude reading his little sad like suicide journal surrounded by rats. Like it reminds me of the cover of the CFDL 7-inch.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
right. It's strange. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, it's like it seems like they're kind of channeling that CFDL 7-inch, but yeah, I don't know. Just like it's not like Indigesti is almost like a party record. Like it's like fast fucking hardcore, but it makes you want to like jump out of your chair and kind of like fucking break things. This is like it makes you want to fucking drink. So I don't know. I listen all the fucking time.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a really good one that stands out.
Great label. Like honestly, like I check out again almost anything that label puts out. I will check out because I have bought more new releases on that label than honestly probably any other. Especially when it comes to like international hardcore.
Yeah,
he really has like a nose for picking.
Yes, Paco. Yeah, he's great. All right, Devon, what's your next pick?
Well, I'm going to preface and transition with a shameless plug for the Exploding Corpse Action record that's coming out on Ben Barnett's Armageddon label shortly. I don't want to dwell on it too much because the drop date is until April 22nd.
All right.
But after 25 years, this is finally coming out. So a lot of what I've been listening to lately is stuff that I was listening to at the time that this was created. So one of the big kind of things Jim and I were listening to, Sadismo and I, when we were conceiving of this record is the D.D. Jackson, kind of keeping with the space theme, Cosmic Curves. I don't know if you've ever seen this record before. D.D. Jackson was pretty huge in Europe, but really didn't. I mean, this record never came out in the U.S. for some reason. But what fascinates me about this, and this is 1978, I think, or 79, but it's a complete disco concept record. And it tells the story of an Earth that's been depleted of men, and men have been replaced by robots. And so the woman, you know, she's finding dissatisfaction with her like love options on Earth. And so then she has to travel into space to try to find a man. And she ends up going on trial and then getting banished to the void at the end. It's kind of like, it's a pretty epic journey that it takes in 8 songs.
So it's a true story.
It's a true story, yeah. But there's some there's some tracks on this that have a real edge. Like there's a song called Red Flight where the mix really reminds me of like I Was Made for Loving You, Kiss. Like it's like heavy guitar driven disco. And every song, I mean, there's one song that's kind of a clunker, but even that's not too bad. But the thing I like is it has the kind of drum, the electronic drum bass track that just kind of carries on through the songs. It really ties it all together. So, I mean, D.D. Jackson really does in like one record, like I think what The Who didn't do in 2 records with Tommy, and really like completes this like concept record, you know, this space kind of opera that happens over the course of 8 songs. So if you have any interest in space disco or disco at all, This is really one of my top picks of all time. I discovered this record. There used to be this old store in Albany, New York called Central Station. And it was run by an older woman and an older, I say older, but they're probably like the age we are now. But when I was like 18 or even younger, maybe 17 or 16, going into the store, it was just amazing because they just had such a great kind of selection of stuff that would change all the time. And the one time they had this big, like they must have got cutouts from somewhere. And it was all funk and disco, kind of really obscure stuff that I had never heard of before. And amongst the jewels was this Dee Dee Jackson record, which I got, of course, for the amazing cover, but then ended up really falling in love with this record. And this is a Brazilian pressing. This I actually got later. The original one I had, I think, was a German pressing. But at that store, it was like one of those stores too, where you think back and they had like original, like Stooges pressings for like $30, which seemed insane to me, like at 17 to like spend $30 on a record. And we were just buying up all this junk from like the dollar bins. But yeah, like one of those things you wish you could go back in time and just like buy like the whole store for what they had there. But yeah, I have a lot of sentimental attachment to this record, but I also think, it's really worth checking out if you have any issues in space opera, disco, space disco. But this was a kind of like I don't want to wear my influences on my sleeve, but this was a big kind of
wow. There you go.
Kind of contact point for the corpse when we were like kind of formulating what that was going to look like.
Damn. I bet there's a Japanese pressing of that. There must be, right?
There is, yes, and I'm desperately seeking that one too if you ever come across it. It's actually pretty spendy for some reason.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah, I think maybe it only came out as a promo, like a white label promo. I think that's why. But yeah, I'm looking for that one too.
Nice. That's another new one to me.
Yeah, even if you're not interested, I mean, I can't tell you how great this record. I can't describe it, but you have to listen to it. Every song is like a hit. Like shocking to me that she didn't catch on in the States.
Yeah, Paul says like it was reissued or in 2022. Is that the thing? Estonia.
Huh? Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's on Random Euro Records.
The cool thing too, it comes with a poster. My copy has a poster. Hold on a second, I'm gonna see this. And it's Dee Dee kind of like whirling around. I don't know if I can capture that on this little screen.
All right. Yep. Wow. Dee Dee Jackson. Yeah. The digital watch font.
Yeah, and she did a second LP, and I remember watching an interview with her where she describes it as moving away from disco towards rock. But there isn't any space themes in it, but it's still disco. I don't know what she was talking about.
All right. All right, Dave, follow that.
Continue with the space theme.
Literally perfectly.
That's synchronicity right there.
Wow.
William Parker, Mayan Space Station. William Parker is a jazz bassist, and this record also features Ava Mendoza on guitar and Gerald Cleaver on drums. I got to shout out Dr. Pete Larson for turning me on to this one.
I was going to say, yeah, there you go.
Cool cover.
Yeah, so really, this is a showcase for Ava Mendoza. She's a really killer guitarist, jazz guitarist. If you're familiar with Sonny Chirac, I'm not a big jazz head, but that's like a direct comparison, easy comparison I could make. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's free jazz. It's there's songs, there's structure. The bass and the drums are really locked in. It's just like a really killer record. It came out on Fidelity, and you can probably still buy it. Sounds killer. Sounds like today. It was obviously recorded live in the studio. It sounds like they're in like the room with you. So.
That's a great record. One of my favorites from whenever that came out. I want to say like 2020, 2000, 21?
Yeah. 2020.
Okay.
Is that a gatefold?
Yeah, killer. Love the artwork too. It's not a gatefold, unfortunately.
Yeah, the cover is really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. When Pete showed it for the first time, everyone was like, Jesus, what's that?
It looks like a Blue Oyster Cult record.
It does a little bit, yeah. It does. Nice pick.
No Blue Oyster Cult yet on this show, Mike. What's going on?
Not today. I was thinking about it, actually.
That's surprising because I know Dave is like a huge fucking Blue Oyster Cult head.
Yeah. All right, last go around the sun. Let's pray to the space gods that we don't get too much. Reverb?
More reverb.
Let's call it reverb. Sounds better, right? Reverb on the vocals.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm picking Sacrilege for my last pick just to fucking put the fucking reverb vocal fucking.
Okay. All right. Stick with my theme. It's a band that's an old band that I've never heard before until, like, I guess their discography just kind of got reissued on, like, one record. Going back to Lodi, New Jersey?
Lodi.
Lodi. Is that how you pronounce it? Really?
Yeah.
New Jersey, early 80s. Mourning Noise.
Nice.
A band. I might have heard them a little bit, like on a tape or something, like years ago, but like, I don't know. This just got put out by Cleopatra. It's got their entire discography on it. Steve Zing, who was like he's in Danzig, right? The drummer of Danzig and good mate of Danzig. Glenn Danzig wrote the liner notes. Like Zing and Danzig and Zing. I was like, were they popular names in like Lodi or Lodi in the 80s? But you know, it's like not much going on here. You know.
Well, Danzig wasn't his real name, obviously.
Really? What was it, like Bobby Ferrari
like
or something? His real name?
Anzalone, I think.
Okay.
Anzalone.
Yeah.
One of the forgotten pastas of New Jersey.
Yes, lovely lad. I guess, yeah, you know, it's got their 7-inch on here and some like, demos and their unissued LP, it says. Did it ever get reissued? Was it ever released back in the day? I don't know. But, you know, total early Misfits, Damned, 45 Grave style punk, really catchy. I mean, you know, if you dig this kind of horror punk stuff from this era, it's kind of a no-brainer, really, for me. I mean, it's kind of like unearthing like a lost Misfits demo or something in a way. You know, obviously maybe not quite up to the standards of the Misfits, but still a great record. But they kind of us vinyl lovers were kind of shortchanged here because the live set on WFMU from 1982, which is like the best stuff, it's not on here. You have to get the compact disc to get
Brewers.
I guess they could have made it a double LP, but I don't know. It's like, so yeah, I didn't know that when I bought it, so I was like, I flipped her over and said, oh, where's the WFMU session? It's not on here. It's like it's on. Good stuff.
I don't know if I've ever heard that band. Like the Misfits are honestly like in my top 3 bands probably of all time. But like as soon as I hear the term horror punk, like I want to run for the hills. Like I love the Misfits. Like, anybody who's trying to like recreate that, it's always just diminishing returns.
I know. But this, you know, early days, you know, Damned, you know, 45 Grave, Misfits, haven't become like cliched yet. So, I think you'll like it. You'll dig it, I think. If you're looking for some like early Misfits sounding stuff. But,
what label is that on, Mike?
It's on Cleopatra, which is like a huge
Cleopatra,
label,
right.
So they're reissuing a lot of stuff recently. This was cheap. Thanks.
I'm surprised they didn't go for the double
nice.
LP.
They did a pretty good job. It's got like, you know, old flyers and you know, photos. Got Glenn Danzig to do the line notes. So on pink vinyl, yeah, more liner notes, history of all the songs and the recording sessions and stuff.
I'm surprised he was gracious enough to do that.
There you go. Well, Zing still plays with him, right? They're still friends.
Oh yeah, honestly, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was like, it was kind of surprising to find that out that they're still friends. He even says that, like, we still play together to this day. He says on the back of the liner notes. There you go.
Neat.
Mourning Noise, early 80s horror punk. There you go. All right, Scoots.
All right, so this is my last pick, and I may get kicked off the stream for this. This is not punk. This is not metal.
Great.
But really, when it comes down to records that you've been listening to lately, this is a record I've been fucking obsessed with. Townes Van Zandt, Live at the Old Quarter. If you guys don't know this guy, he was like a late 60s, 70s on kind of folky country singer. So here's the thing with this guy. I think his songwriting is brilliant. Like, he may literally be my favorite songwriter of all time. His studio albums, though, are like, if you wanted to check this guy out, like, you heard someone say, like, oh, you got to check out Townes Van Zandt, like, you check out any of his studio albums, like they're mostly kind of disappointing in my opinion, because they didn't really know how to handle it. So they threw like a bunch of weird fucking extra instrumentation on top of his songs. Like, there's like fucking bongo drums and, like, orchestral shit. This is a guy with a guitar. That's what this record is. It's a live record from 1973. It was recorded in 73. It came out later, but double LP. And it's just a guy with a guitar singing mostly songs he wrote. There are some covers, but it's like his songwriting is brilliant. And if you hear it live like this, just stripped down and raw, I mean, these are some of the best songs of all time. Like, if you can hang with country at all, like, check this fucking record out. If you've tried to listen to Townes before and you listen to his studio stuff, and I have come around to liking some of that, but it's like, this slays all of his studio records. Again, double LP. If you were putting together like a best of, practically this entire record is on here. Kind of culminating on side 4, where it's like Tower Song, Waiting Around to Die, Tecumseh Valley, Lungs. Like, that is such like 4 in a row, just like crushing, powerful. Like, this is like emotional torture porn.
Yeah.
Like, when you've been drinking whiskey all night and it's like side 4 comes on, it's like, you're not moshing, you're fucking weeping. It's so fucking good. It's like, his lyricism is like off the charts. Like, this guy is smart. And I've been obsessed with him like for like the last like couple of years. Like, there's a couple of like pretty good documentaries about him. Like, I just read like a biography, but again, like, if you haven't heard him, this is the record I would say to check out, and then go from there on to maybe like his studio stuff. Again, like, singer-songwriter, so it's like, if you're into like John Prine, like Bob Dylan, like, I agree Bob Dylan's a great songwriter. I hate his voice. Leonard Cohen, kind of similar. Like, I like his songwriting. I don't really like his voice. Like, this guy to me has it all. Like, his voice is fucking hot. His guitar playing is great on this. Like, this wasn't like his like drunk fucking sloppy era. His songwriting is just like, it's so intelligent and like dark and cutting. It's like it's like affecting when you hear it. Really good stuff. Double LP again. Like, this is like commonly available now on like some shitty, I don't want to say shitty, but like some new reissue label is putting it out.
Is that 4 Men with Beards?
No, it's Fat Possum.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Which, for all I know, maybe it's a serial 4 Men with Beards. It's great stuff.
Yeah, he's great.
I have to take a quick break to plug my laptop in, because apparently, like, I'm sucking battery power. So before I like go dark, I'm going to plug my laptop in. So,
all right,
I'll be back in a second.
Go ahead.
The reverb's a big battery drain, I think.
Yes. I'll do it. All right, Devon, you can carry on this.
And then there were 3.
Best Genesis album. God, he's taking it with him.
Go to the bathroom. Yeah, so I'm going to close out mine with the heaviest record that I have in my selection.
Damn.
This is the first Brujeria record, which I especially like. I picked this up on tour at a shop in Bradford, and it still has the, let's see if I can get it on.
Wow.
It has a 3-pound sticker on the corner.
3 pounds?
3 pounds in 1996, I think I got this, 98. Anyway, it came with this cool thing to protect, young eyes from seeing the atrocity of the actual cover, which I thought was pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
Was this common in England, Mike, where they would have this, or is this kind of a gimmick?
No, I don't think so. I remember when the Carcass album came out, I think they did that to it as well at a certain point.
Oh, the thing they did with the Carcass was they had to the back cover was the front or something like that.
Yeah.
It was
kind of reminds me of Rapport de Parole,
Oh yeah.
Like that kind of
like extreme.
Yes.
But as most of you know, I mean, I have a kind of conflicted kind of impression of Brujeria because they really jumped the shark after this record.
Did they really? Okay.
Well, I think if you were there in the early '90s, when Brujeria first started bubbling up, it was actually a pretty good concept band that you really didn't know a lot about. They did a really good job keeping it secret, who was involved.
Right.
It was pretty seamless. The first 2 7-inches, one of them was on, surprisingly enough, Nemesis Records, which put out Offspring and some really great hardcore records, Against the Wall. And then out of nowhere comes this Brujeria record. And I remember my friend, Nate Wilson, you've had him on the show before. He got this 7-inch and it was a life-changing thing for me. I mean, I'd never heard anything as extreme. And it's all so down-tuned to the point where it's just subterranean, that you think you're listening to it on the wrong speed, one of those types of records when you play. And I think the genius of the Brujeria stuff, the first 2 7-inches and then this LP, aside from the fact that they really never broke kayfabe until after this LP, was just that sludgy sound mixed with hyper fast blast beats. I actually discovered when doing research for this, this is on Roadrunner Records, and the great Cat record there is on Road Racer. But actually, if you play the Brujeria record at 78 RPM, it is actually the great Cat record. So that's the big joke, I think, is actually it was the great Cat just slowed down. But I would go as far to say, I know I made some bold claims on the show already, but I would go as far to say that Misas Negras Sacrificio 3 is probably the greatest grind song ever written. It's a perfect kind of 40-second song that keeps your interest, ends before, it keeps you wanting more. The thing I was going to say is that the time that this came out in the early 90s, noise rock was also a big thing. And I think the thing that this record does that a lot of metal bands weren't doing at the time is it really kind of brings in a lot of the really heavier elements of noise rock and that kind of sludgy stuff into this kind of grind realm, which I think is super interesting. But like I said, unfortunately, after this record, they really broke kayfabe, and Jella Biafra does the intro on the next record, and then they do this techno thing. It's just they go where no band should ever go after this record. I mean, it's one of those bands, 2 7-inches and an LP, and that should have been the end. And it would have just been the perfect kind of archive of a great band, but they just kept going. And surprisingly enough, like the crap they put out after this record, like they got pretty huge. Like people love them. And I just could never figure out like what the appeal was of anything that came out after this. But this is like a kind of brilliant moment in grindcore. Again, the full concept, the ability, they really kind of pulled it off in a way up until this LP came out, keeping everything kind of secret, mysterious, which was probably easier to do in the early 90s than it would be now.
It was kind of interesting, like who was in this band, and it was, you could kind of, Shane Embry, right, was from Napalm.
He was eventually, the original guys were guys from Fear Factory. And Jello Biafra had some involvement in the first two records as well.
All right.
And then eventually Jesse Pintado from, Terrorizer, Napalm Death, he was involved in it later too. But yeah, if you haven't listened to this record and you're into like extreme grind, I mean, even without the shtick or the kind of the corny kind of drug cartel stuff, this is a really, really amazing record, like on many levels. Like I would put it up there with like it reminds me in parts of like Unsane. Like, have you ever heard the first Unsane record? There's just like this kind of ethereal quality to like the down tuning and the kind of crappy production, but that's actually really working really well. That I think, on the first two 7-inches and on this LP, like they really pull off flawlessly. So this is one of my favorite records of all time, and I've been listening to it a lot again lately. So yeah,
that's a great pick. All right.
Misas Negras.
All right, Dave, take us home. Oh, they got you. There you go.
There you go.
Ending it, trying to keep the heavy going. Been revisiting Godflesh because I saw they announced there's going to be another record coming out this summer. So it's been in my mind, and got to see them. I never saw them like on their original run. I was a couple of years too young for that, but I saw them in Providence at the Columbus Theater 3-4 years ago for there's like an annual HP Lovecraft festival in the summer here, and Armageddon Shop usually brings in like a real heavy hitter band to play one night of that. And in 2019 they brought in Godflesh, and it was just freaking great, like so heavy. Seeing them in this old 100-year-old or whatever plus theater. They had like these crazy like experimental films projected behind them. And then actually Justin and who's the bass player? I can't think of his name.
Let us know in the comments who's the bass player.
But anyways, the night after that, they both went to AS220, the venue that I work at, and they did like these solo noise sets in front of 30 people or whatever, and they were just hanging out. Super cool guys. So yeah, I've been digging on Godflesh a lot lately. And this is like my go-to, but through your whatever top 10 or whatever Godflesh, I've been checking out the rest of their catalog.
Yeah, good discography. They haven't really put out a bad record, I would say. Yeah, used to go and see them back in the day.
Yeah, even like some of the stuff like gets a little like almost like shoegazy or something, and it's pretty cool. I never really checked it out before.
Yeah. There we go. Ask and you shall receive. GC Green is the bass player in Godflesh.
GC.
There you go.
CC DeVille.
That's a pretty great way to finish up today's episode. It's been a great time. We shouldn't have got that Radio Raheem guy to mix the show.
No answer for that crime.
What did you do? We had a great time.
AF demo mix.
Fifth rate overmodulated hardcore.
Good work. Modulation, reverb. People like that stuff, right? All right.
Oh, we're getting calls for an encore here. I see in the chat.
No, not
Super fans.
Don't do encores on this show.
Thanks for inviting us
on,
on, Mike.
For like another fucking hour.
What I could do if I'm not going to do it today.
Yeah,
I could just I could put the link down here, and anyone who's watching could like jump on. Right? We don't want that to happen. Right. All right. Yes. Thanks. It is my birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Okay.
I'm going to have my last swig of cola.
Thanks, Paul.
Brand I won't name.
See you soon. All right. Let's finish it up there. I'm dying to go somewhere. Like.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for bearing with us, Mike.
Thanks for bearing with me. That's fine. All right. Until next time.
Super fun. Thanks for the invite.
I've got to announce next week's show. I always forget. Bit of a schedule change next week. We're doing it on Saturday night next week. I forget why. And it's going to be, you guys are like jumping forward, right? From an hour. Tomorrow. It's Sunday, right?
Yeah.
The clocks are going forward, so I've got to remember that.
That's true.
It's going to change for me. It's going to be earlier for me in the morning. So, yeah, next week, Saturday, March 18th, 10 p.m. EDT, I believe is the correct term. Patrick Wilding, Mike Woodford, who was here tonight watching with his hilarious Ric Flair comment about the singer Indigesti and Cliff Clark. It's going to be a
comment of the night.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah. All right.
You should get Ric Flair on the show, Mike.
Let's ask him. Is he still alive?
Wouldn't cost much.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure
next time.
For like a fucking
see you next week, Saturday, EDT, which is not a form of music. It's a time zone. Stay healthy and stay clean.